Happy fall, Epic Career Tales listeners. This is Karen Huller, founder and owner of Epic Careering. And this month, as every month, we bring you somebody that we consider to have had an epic career. Somebody who, by most people's standards, have achieved something that most people would aspire to achieve in their career. And today, we have Pennsylvania Senator Daylin Leach. And just to give you some background on how I'm familiar with Daylin Leach, he was my local rep before he was elected, and we had met at a party, Mary Pat's house. And after that, I had actually seen him speak at TEDx Phoenixville. And I was with my intern, who by most standards is Republican, and she actually was impressed by how much what you said resonated with her. And I was impressed by how your presence and your story can compel people to see commonalities that they might not have otherwise seen in somebody else, and have that resonate. And for me, that seems like a tremendous feat as a politician. Am I right?
Well, it's difficult. I mean, some people are more open to being impressed by things, especially things they don't necessarily go into the situation agreeing with, than others. But I'm glad your intern was impressed. I hope that leads her on a path to some sort of Nobel Peace Prize or something down the road.
It actually was the first moment that I could see myself maybe pursuing a career in politics someday. Not that those aspirations are strong at all, but
no, that's
it's
great.
on the table for the future.
I would encourage it highly. It's a great profession. I mean, you're not running against me, are you?
No.
Okay, then definitely I would encourage it. It's it is a unique form of satisfaction that you get, I think, when you can actually enact some sort of legislation that will help lots of people down the road, or stop something that will hurt lots of people, which is equally what we do, and sometimes more what we do. So it is a profession which I've been doing it now for 14 years professionally, and it's been very rewarding. Frustrating on many individual days, but rewarding generally.
Now, you have passed a lot of successful legislation. What would you say was the most satisfying part of your career thus far?
Well, the most satisfying bill, I think, had to be the last major piece of legislation I passed, which was the medical marijuana bill, bringing medical cannabis to Pennsylvania, because it's one of the very few bills that I can even think of that's going to make a huge difference in the lives of people who are suffering. I mean, just one small part of it. States with the medical marijuana protocol have a 25% lower rate of opioid addiction and opioid overdose deaths. So in Pennsylvania, that's about 500 lives a year saved just by passage of this bill. That doesn't even talk about all these lives that will be saved directly by the medication, the suffering that will be alleviated. I mean, there's very little I can imagine doing that's going to have more of a direct impact on people's lives than that. So it was a lot of work. It was almost impossible when we started out to contemplate this actually passing, but we got some lucky breaks. We worked very hard at it. We were persistent over the course of a couple of years, and we finally got it done. And I think if I do nothing else the rest of my career, at least I can look back on this and feel good about the difference it made in people's lives.
That's great. Now, how much of what you do and what you're driven to do today in your position is driven by how you were brought up?
Well, a lot of it. I mean, that's why I'm in politics, generally speaking, I think, because a couple of things. I mean, first of all, I had sort of a strange upbringing. I was raised in part by a single mother. I never met my father. This chair, by the way, I will occasionally go out of the frame. I'm still alive. I'm just, But no, I never met my father. I was raised by a single mother. She had a lot of difficulties. Eventually, put me into a series of foster homes, and so it taught me about the difficulties that people encounter. Also, we were very poor. We were on public assistance, and I got food stamps, and I got school lunches, and a lot of things. And I saw the difference the government can make in someone's life. I don't know what would have happened if those programs weren't available. And they enabled me, through those programs and things like student loans and education funding, enabled me to turn that situation around and become successful. And frankly, I've paid far more in taxes than have been than were given to me back then. So, I mean, that's what investment looks like. You invest in someone, you get more out of them, and you invest into them. It's good for them, it's good for society. And so that sort of shaped my whole philosophy about what's possible if we invest in people. So it gave me a real sense of, fighting for justice and fighting to make things better for people. And this was a career that seemed most possible to do that in. Prior to this, I was a lawyer, which also it gave me an opportunity on more of a micro level to have that sort of impact. So my whole life, I've just wanted to try to do two things, which is help people and make an amazing amount of money. Sadly, government service was not the you don't get rich in government service,
right.
but at least the first half we got right.
Someday, I'm still waiting for you.
We're still, you'll keep me posted on that.
I will. That's what I help people do. Make a lot of money in their career. So, did you grow up having a good impression of politicians?
Yeah, I actually did, because the politicians that I followed when I was a young kid, and I got very interested in politics very early on, were people I thought were very admirable. I mean, John F. Kennedy, Robert Kennedy, Hubert Humphrey, George McGovern. These were people I thought were, heroes. There were people who were less heroic, but I understood that that's part of the process. But I didn't grow up cynical about public service at all. I really didn't. It's a shame that so many young people and people of all ages today are so cynical about. I get a lot of emails, all politicians are crooks. It's like, I'm not a crook.
That's what I grew up believing about politicians.
Yeah,
so I found you very refreshing.
I think, yes. Well, I think a lot of people did, but, I'm not a crook. Most people I know in the legislature work very hard and are really sincere. Even if I disagree with them, they're doing what they think is good for their community, even if what they think is good for their community is crazy. But at least, very few people are motivated by greed and or self-interest and power. All of us have some level of ego. My ego is healthy. We'll use that term.
I saw the centaur picture.
Yes, I like that.
Is that representative?
That's pretty much. We're all human beings here. No one's perfect, but I think that being a politician, I say that I'm a politician proudly, and I encourage young people to get into that. And I think it's the most noble profession there is.
What is the biggest thing that you've learned about yourself in your career as it developed?
I don't like olives. I'll tell you that. I go to a lot of events and they have olives, and I just can't stand those things. But I also learned the thing you beat yourself up sometimes, especially when something goes wrong. The one positive thing I've learned about myself, and I've tried to nurture, is that I try to operate without fear of losing an election, or without fear of negative publicity or hate mail or whatever it is I get. Once you sort of imagine losing an election in your mind, and you picture what the next day would look like, the sun would come up and the birds would chirp and all that, and once you lose that fear of losing an election, it's amazingly liberating. You can actually do things. And too many of my colleagues never lose that. They never sort of go there in their mind. They never lose that fear. They're always driven. They're like, oh my God, I really like to support that, but I can't vote for that. My God, And I feel like that's such a tragic way to live your life. So I've always taken on very controversial issues. I love doing that. And at the end of the day, if my constituents are like, Daylin, you just gone a little too far this time, that's fine. They should have someone else, and then I can do some other thing with my life. I've never believed you should do one thing your whole life, or one thing even for too long. So that's why I've tried every few years to mix up my career, change it around, and I've done that. So I don't really fear that, and it's been very helpful to me.
So you might have just answered the next question, which is really what is any kid aspiring to pursue a career in politics need to understand now in order for them to be a successful public servant?
You should know why you're getting involved. Okay, you don't get involved for like the applause or the power. I mean, the power. I mean, power. You know, unless you're president of the United States, your power is going to be very finite. Okay, I think what you have more than power is influence and an opportunity to push things forward. But I do not have the sort of dictatorial power that I aspire to, Karen. But you know, so know why you want to get into it and know what you want to do. Know like why. You know, I got into this because of civil rights, which is that was the motivating issue of my childhood and my young adulthood. And so when I got here, I latched on to the biggest civil rights issue that we were facing at the time, which is LGBT rights. That's the civil rights struggle of our time. And so I got very involved in that, introduced the first same-sex marriage bill in Pennsylvania history, and led the fight against some really bad things. And when we briefly legalized same-sex marriage before the Supreme Court did it nationwide, we briefly did it in Montgomery County when our clerk of court started issuing licenses before a judge stopped them. So, but during that like 20 days when it was legal, I was marrying, I could marry people. I was marrying couples.
I wish I would have known that 11 years ago.
You were in the market for a officiant, were you?
Yeah.
Well, if are you still married?
I am.
Okay. If you ever want to, you know, take
Renew
another,
our vows?
if you want to renew your vows or move in a different direction, who am I to judge? You call me and I can do that for you, because now I've done like 25 weddings. I'm quite good at it.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm doing another one next weekend actually. So you know, I was marrying these couples in my backyard at the rate of 2 or 3 a day.
Wow.
Because they were all desperate to get married while it was before a judge shut it down. So I've tried to be very active on, you know, the issues I'm needed most. And that's another thing I would encourage people getting into this profession. See where you're needed. There are a lot of issues I care about where other people are fighting the fight. They don't really need me. I'll do what I can. I'll be happy to. But there's a few issues that people are afraid to touch. And I feel like that's my niche. That's where I'm needed.
Okay.
And if you can, you know, make it about accomplishing things rather about advancing a career, I think you'll be much happier in the long run.
What are some of the landmines they should know about if they're going to pursue a career in politics?
Well, there's a few things. I mean, number one, you can't please everyone all the time. You're going to get a lot of blowback. You're going to get, you know, people get angry because these issues are important to them, and so you have to be able to deal with that. The other thing, that the worst part of politics, and it's something that I'm still struggling with, and it's something that you have to, if you want to get into it, have to struggle with, which is the money part of it. The fundraising is just awful. You have to sit on a phone, if you want to run for office, you have to sit on a phone and call strangers for hours every day for money. And it's a little bit of you dies with every phone call. At least me. Some people apparently like it more than that. But you have to do it. I mean, unless you can be a self-funder, or unless by the time that a young person listening to this gets into politics, we have a different system. That would be nice. But barring that, I think it's you know, that is the hardest part, and you just have to get through it in order to do the good parts, the parts that are, you know, that got you into it in the first place.
So, last question, Daylin. What would you say to the kids who are growing up with challenges, whether they're familial or financial or just situational, geographic, whatever they happen to be, who aspire to be a redemption story like you someday? What would you say right now they should know and understand in order to be a redemption story?
Well, first, pick a direction. And in the words of Bob Dylan, know your song well before you start singing. One of the things that enabled me to be successful is that I started reading everything I get my hands on about public policy and politics and government from the age of like 7. So by the time I became old enough to start engaging in this space, I knew what I was talking about. I could impress people. I could, you know, I could overcome obstacles because I'd read about other people who overcame similar obstacles, and I knew what they did. So just be a sponge for information. Know what you're talking about, and that'll serve you very well when you get to the point where it's time for, you know, when your time comes.
I want to thank Senator Daylin Leach for his time, and I also want to make sure that you listeners and watchers understand that no matter what age you are in your life, especially in the climate we're in right now, it's never too late to find your passion, follow it, and make a difference.
Like if you're 95, that's probably too late. Okay, I'm just gonna let's be honest with these people.
I'm sure there is a story out there that would refute that.
Okay, good luck with that.
I feel like I should find it and send it to them. Until next month, thank you.